Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. A customer stole $100 from the restaurant. The boss should file a police report and get that $100 back from that evil woman. I'm sorry about the way you were treated, OP. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss a new video every single day. Karen stole my money. I'm a waitress and I had a table come in when we were closing up. They had 8 people and I sat them and whatnot and served them. Did a normal 2-bite check back and they said everything was fine. Checked in with them a few times after. 2 parents and 6 kids. The parents asked for 2 double screwdrivers and then asked for another 2 double screwdrivers, and I said under our policy we can't give more than 1 alcoholic beverage to people with families, apologized for any inconvenience, and they were really nice about it. They ate quickly and asked for boxes in the check, so I'm printing the check and the mom comes up to where I'm printing and says, "We don't want your effing boxes and you're taking too damn long." I wasn't slow. They were the only table there. I literally couldn't have been faster. And I said my apologies, and then comes the drama. The whole conversation, our food was burned and it tastes like crap. Why would I want a box to take that crap home? We eat at fancy restaurants a lot and they're way faster. I work at a family diner. It's not fancy. Mind you, if anything was wrong, I would have done something about it, but I can't once you've eaten the whole burned dish. She cussed me out for what felt like forever, and my supervisor was like, "Hey, you can't use that kind of language with your server or with anyone. It's not correct." And the lady goes, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yeah, it's not appropriate, and while I'm really sorry the food was not up to par, that doesn't mean we take abuse." And she looked mad and said, "Well, you're the server." And I said, "It's easy to say I'm the server behind a counter, but outside these doors, I'm also a person. And no one deserves that level of abuse." And during this whole thing, she's still yelling and cussing us both out. So she paid in cash, $200, and we owed her $12 in change. I only had 10 and a 50, so I asked my supervisor for change for my 50. She got confused and took 100 from the lady and gave her change for the 100. So the lady grabs her 100 in change and her original 100, and basically she took $100 from us, and I paid it out of my own tips because we were $87 short now. My supervisor told me not to do it, but we could have both lost our jobs, so I did, and I'll explain it to my boss tomorrow. And I lost all my tips this week because of her, and I don't know what to do. I'm mad and sad. I wish people didn't do that. I need to vent. Update, I did speak to my supervisor, and we're looking for her, but he's not going to pay me for the money I lost, which is a bummer. I live alone, and I'm a full-time student, and $100 is a lot of money to me right now. And our second story. That's not my job, ma'am. This happened before the pandemic struck. For the context, it was Christmas season with less than a week before the date. It was nearing the end of my 11th year and was with my friend looking for new casual outfits for the year-end party that our school held annually. It was lunch break and we were walking around the mall located directly in front of our school. We were both wearing black pants, black leather shoes, and yellow collared shirts since our school decided to color code the students according to their departments. The staff inside the mall were wearing tailored shirts and skirts, so the situation I went through was even more baffling. We decided to look first at the shoe aisle since there were less people there and my friend wanted to wear new shoes during the party. I noticed that there was a group of older women, maybe in their early to late 30s, in the middle of the store, whom, despite the hustle and bustle, were by far the noisiest there. For some reason, the moment I looked at them, a woman who was taller than me, I was small even for our country standards, and had this audacious pair of eyebrows matched with an even more offending lipstick shade was eyeing me. Let's call her Karen. My guts told me that it was not going to end well with her, and so I avoided further eye contact and just continued shopping. It was about 15 minutes later when I finally found the dress that I wanted that I hear the group of women saying things along the lines of, "It's so messy in here. Shouldn't this be a mall? There are clothes everywhere. No one's even here to assist people. Some of the staff are just standing around." For the record, it was a fairly small store, and since it was that time of year, the staff were awfully busy. There was a tsunami of people, so it's no question that the place had clothes lying around. The place was normally very tidy, though. I just continued to ignore them and proceeded to kneel down on the floor and search the lower racks for accessories. No more than a minute later, loud stomping headed my way, followed by a sharp tap, almost a slap, on my shoulder. And there she goes, Karen in her glowering stance above me. Remember, I was literally kneeling down. Without even letting me ask her what her problem was, she bombarded me with her questions and accusations. I've been calling out your attention for a while now, but you were ignoring me. How thick of a skin must you have? Look at this place, it's a mess. How could anyone find what they're looking for? Shouldn't you be assisting the customers in folding the clothes that they chose from and putting them back to where they got them? I had to bite my lip to stop myself from questioning her sanity. There were at least 40 customers at the store at that time. How could she expect to see a staff waiting for every single one of them? My friend who was in the aisle behind me was watching this all unfold. After more than a minute of her yapping, I slowly and clearly said, "Ma'am, that's not my job. I don't work here." She then interjected, saying, "That's impossible. You look just like them." I wanted to capture that moment when she looked at the cashier, which was about 5 aisles away, and realized that we were wearing different uniforms. She backed off without apologizing and stormed to her companions. Needless to say, she was embarrassed. I was really out of myself at that moment, and my friend and I decided to just get out of the store because, honestly, people were looking and didn't want the attention. I forgot to get my stuff, and my friend just paid for hers. As soon as I got home, I told my mom about it, and we rushed back to the store to buy the dress that I found. Kudos to my mom. A true Karen wouldn't have realized her mistake. She would have doubled down and assaulted you for being a lazy employee and threatened to get you fired from your job. And our last story. I'm entitled to your backyard. This happened a while back, and I was not present for the majority of the convos, so I'll just tell from memory. Context. My father inherited an older house from my grandparents after my grandmother died and my grandfather started having nothing to do. After they moved in, neighbors began to pop up around the house, and most of the new neighbors were really nice. But the closest neighbors are very entitled. So my house is a medium-sized house, but we have a 2-acre backyard. On multiple occasions, people have asked to use our backyard for storage, but they were nice people and we didn't really mind. But as more houses began to pop up around our backyard, people began to suddenly feel attached to our backyard as if it was their own. They began to have picnics and photo shoots in our backyards. This made us angry, but after we asked them to stop, they would for a while. But there was an old lady that was an exception. EL asked us to store some gardening tools in our backyard, but there was still some land that was her on her side of the property line following her fence, so we allowed it. But repeatedly, the tools kept piling onto our side. We repeatedly asked her to keep it on her side, but the problem would only be fixed for about 2 weeks before she did it again. This aggravated us, but not to the point to make a huge fuss, but things changed very quickly. One day, EL asked if she could make a gate adding to her existing small fence to our backyard. When we asked why, EL said, "My dogs don't like pooping in our yard, so we need your yard. Plus, I like your yard." My father said, "Ma'am, this is not your property. You can't just build a gate to our yard for your convenience. But I need it. I know you don't use all that huge yard you have. You need to share. Ma'am, you are not building a gate to our yard. Now, please get off my property before I call the police." After this, EL pouted and left, and she complied. No gate was built. But EL's entitled behavior never stopped. Over the next couple of weeks, she complained about our trees, saying it was dying the rustic scenery, and we needed to change it. It's our yard. We should not have to change it to her liking. We just shut her down, and we thought that was it. Oh boy, were we wrong. The worst was yet to come. We had a tree bordering the property line, and one day EL came onto our property without warning to ask if she could hire workers to come through our backyard because hers was too small. My parents were not home, so we were naturally scared. In a panic, I called my mom to tell her a woman was at the door and we didn't know what to do. My mom told me to tell EL to get off the property and my father would call her. After some convo, we complied, and she said the work would be done in about a week. She didn't tell us when they would start working. We have dogs and they're very protective, so we needed to know when they would come so we could put them in a kennel. Now, that weekend I had to be in Alabama for a wrestling tournament. We had finished the wrestling tournament and started the 8-hour drive back when my mom got a phone call. It was my sister. The conversation went like this. Mom, do you know there are people in our backyard? What? Yeah, they have some tree trimming trucks and equipment. Should I put the dogs up? Yes, put them up now. I'll call you back. Now my mom continues to call EL on speakerphone. EL, yes? Why is there trucks in my backyard? We talked about this. I told you I'd have workers trim the trees on my side through your yard. You never told me they were coming today. Calm down. An old lady like me can't take your screaming. You need to respect me. Warning, some cursing comes next. Respect you? All you've done is not effing respect us. You constantly use our yard as your own. You can't just yell at me. I'm your neighbor. And you can't just expect to have such a huge backyard and someone not want you to share it. You need to share it. It's my effing backyard. Well, maybe just be a little nicer next time. And remember to share. EL proceeded to talk about how she was an old lady and deserved respect. She also spoke about how, since she has been a nice neighbor, and she deserved to be spoken nice and not yelled at. My mother quickly shut her down. Shortly after that, EL hung up on us. After this, my mom proceeded to tell my father of the events that just occurred. Now, my grandfather still lives with us, and he helps us from time to time. My father called him and see if he could arrange a fence being made. My grandfather also had enough and had the perfect plan. My grandfather found rusty pieces of tin sheets and only prettied up on the side that would face us, leaving the entitled neighbor with a rusty tin fence facing their home. We put these up shortly after the tree trimming was finished. At least she got the rustic look she wanted, and we never heard from her again. I guess she got the memo. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.